G'day one, g'day all. Welcome to Talking Hawks, the pre-eminative show for Hawthorn fans around the globe, connecting Hawthorn fans from all over with good footy conversation, a bit of humour, and in tonight's show, a preview, the round 8 preview. Where does the time go? Chris is alongside me, mate, for our second old enemy clash of the year. We got the Hawks over the line against the Cats. I'm 100% giving that to us in brilliant work that we did. Let's make it 2-0.
Yes, that would be great, wouldn't it? Like you said, despite what happens for the rest of the year, if you can beat your two arch enemies, then you've had a good year.
Yeah, definitely agree. But we're sitting in a decent position at the moment, mate, at 3-4. Tough loss last week, but an encouraging sign against the Demons. And if we're going to get the Bombers, I think having them at a low point is only going to serve us well as they are at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely think we're hit them at a low point, as scary as it is, because it can potentially be their motivating factor to get up against us. But yes, I guess the big out being the man that carved us up last time, out with a hammy. So let's hope that's Jake Stringer, doesn't impact us and nobody else steps up to the plate to single-handedly take us down.
Yeah, that would be nice because he made Tasmania his own there last year in a big win for the Bombers. So that was the news. And we'll just touch quickly on like the ins and outs. We'll go through all that, I should say. Excuse me. But let us know where you're coming, where you're listening to us from, I should say. This has been a rusty start from Daz, but I promise I'll improve. But let us know where you're commenting from, your thoughts on the game. We're going to touch on plenty. I've got another curly question for Chris. It was a segment I promised weekly. I did it once in a month, so that's where I'm at. But I'm bringing it back. I'm looking forward to that. We'll have our tips, our predictions, who we think is going to dominate, and everything in between. But let's start with our ins and outs, mate. It dropped about an hour and 10 minutes ago, and it is Harry Morrison, Josh Ward, and our man Denver Grainger-Barras are all in and all managed this week.
Mm-hmm.
Connor Nash, which I feel like was an injury, but maybe his hammy's not 100% right. Liam Shields and Conor Mcdonald. We knew the young boys were going to get a rest, so it makes sense to do one and the other. But they're three quality ins, mate, and all best 23 players, which is a plus.
Thanks for joining us, Chris Mods, from middle upper Carrum Downs. I love it.
I like it.
The news on Nashi, I thought I heard was a quad query, not a hamstring.
A quad, okay, yeah.
And is apparently not as bad as first thought. So that's good signs, even though he wasn't named. Might be only 1 week on the sidelines.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And Conor Mcdonald, I don't think he didn't do a lot wrong last week. Found the footy, used it well, but we knew these young blokes coming off so much footy are going to need a break, and it's a lot better to be managed, mate, than what a rising star nominee Nick Dacos would be going through at the moment, who's literally got the runs at the moment. So if I was Conor Mcdonald, I'd probably be happy with the fact that I'm just getting the week off. And do you think this managed time will be spent at Box Hill or a complete almost footy detox for 7 days? And
no, I think
Ocean Grove, amazing.
I think it is fully resting the body. Did I pop that one up? Sorry, I'm trying to talk and click at the same time. No, I think it is to give the boys a full body rest. It is a lot for a kid's body to go through a full AFL season. So I think it's a good move by the Hawks, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do it a second time later in the year. We've got the bye round, so that'll get them through that. So maybe another managed week in the second half of the season, I reckon.
Yeah, I think I agree. So I think round 14 is the Hawks by 13 or 14. So you're almost splitting the season up into three, which is into four with the 2 breaks and the bye. So that's a really good way of looking at it, and good management from the Hawks. Griffith, New South Wales. There you go, Cody. Superstar, regular listener. Love Hawks, always will. As we should. As we all do, mate. And that's the point of us being here, which is outstanding. So Harry Morrison back. And I think we found out last week maybe just structurally how important he is to the side. We had a couple of moments against the Ds where we just couldn't stop them going forward. And I'm not saying Harry was the answer or him being out there was the reason why we lost, but I definitely felt his absence more so than I think I have throughout his career. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no. Sorry, I've been stuck in these comments. You better. Sorry, can you rephrase that question for me?
Did you feel Harry Morrison's absence as much as I did watching the game, and probably more so than we ever have?
Yeah, I think his run and carry or just total run on the ground has been outstanding for us. It's been added an extra dimension to his game and helped us dramatically. So I think, we did miss that, and he's going to be a great inclusion this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Denver's the interesting case because they don't have a gluttony of tall forwards. The Bombers, Kane Baldwin's been left out. I'll go through their full ins and outs in just a tick. But Kane Baldwin's out. We know Harrison Jones is out. He hasn't played at all this year with some lower leg problems. So it looks like it's Peter Wright, and that's about it in terms of tall. So whether Denver gets the job and Frosty can play an intercept role is going to be an interesting one to watch. They've brought Nick Bryan in as well. So maybe him and Draper will rotate forward and Frost can go to one of those boys who absolutely aren't quick. So an interesting sort of way that we've structured Denver's management, I think. What do you reckon?
Well, I don't know if you could have planned for Essendon's in and outs, but maybe he legitimately had a niggling injury that needed to have a week off.
Yeah, that's fair. And we did have a short turnaround as well. So are you at all surprised that Denver and Frosty are playing alongside Sis, who's shown that he can play that sort of the third tall role? Do you think the two talls on a resting ruckman and Peter Wright and then letting Sis, Scrimshaw all intercept, is that the right balance for you? It feels like the right balance for me, for the record.
Yeah, look, they're outstanding intercept players. It's not what they hang their hat on at the end of the day. Like, they can play other roles. So if they're more aggressive rather than just being interceptors, they can run off and attack more than actual just intercepting and get the ball on a wing and transfer it into the forward line. Yeah. I'm not sure what the role is, but they're regulars, they're walk-up starters, and I don't think you'd change them just because of Essendon's lineup.
Yep, I don't mind that at all. The surface, mate. So we're going to Marvel, which is a ground that I think Richmond's kind of stolen the hatred, I guess, for Marvel Stadium. Damien Hardwick famously say that the Richmond fans hate going there, and right now Richmond fans are hating going anywhere because their attendances are down. But we won't talk about that. But Marvel, they call it a lightning quick surface. We think the roof will be shut night time. We're heading into the cold and the miserable weather of Melbourne as it can serve it up. How important do you think it is to get speed on the ball and go at Essendon in a way like we went at Melbourne, and that had some success, and I think it'll have success against the Bombers? What do you reckon?
I think you're right. I think you have to play that stadium with speed because it's so small. If you slow the ball down, the defence quickly limits your options, and I think moving the ball quickly is 100% the best way to attack this game. So, and we've shown that pretty much every round this year. So maybe St Kilda excluded, but
we did it for 10 minutes in the first quarter. So
yeah, no, I think that's the way to go. And yeah, you got to have a fair bit of confidence going into this one with the form line at the moment.
I would think so. And we'll touch on the Bombers because there is a severe lack of empathy coming from our fan base when it comes to where the Bombers are at. Let me tell you, couldn't happen to a nicer mob, the Warriors that we've got going on. We did have a severe uptick in play on percentage last week. So going into the Melbourne game, we were at 31%, which was still in the upper echelon of teams in the competition. Against Melbourne, that went to 43%. And if we're anywhere in between those two numbers, I feel like the Bombers are in trouble. You look fully engrossed in those comments, man. What's coming through? Any questions?
There is plenty, and I'm just trying to work it in with our current topics. But
that's okay, mate. We can wing it.
We'll run with this one just for starters, mate.
Well, that's I understand where you're coming from. That Parrish is the problem. But is he a problem, though? So as Hawthorn fans, we went through the whole Tom Mitchell doesn't hurt you rhetoric, rightly or wrongly. Now, he was so quote-unquote ineffective, not my term, but this is, Nathan Buckley said it famously and all these things. But he did it so well it won him a Brownlow. Darcy Parish isn't doing it enough to be at a Brownlow standard. I struggle to believe that he was robbed of the Anzac Day medal where he had 43 touches, including 30 in the first half. He didn't do anything with them. He's averaging in the last month less than 9 meters a disposal. That's just over half a kick. Is it a problem?
It's not great. Look, it can be if he gives it to the right people, but yeah, we all know that numbers don't add up to great games necessarily.
Yeah, and I've spoken about it with Jai that we're looking at midfielders that get the ball and take it forward of centre from a stoppage. The top 5 players in the competition right now going into round 8 that are doing it are Clayton Oliver, Patrick Cripps, Andy Brayshaw, Callum Mills and Ben Keys, who I'd argue those 5 are in the top 8 for the Brownlow. I don't think that's a crazy thing. The top 5 the other way, now Clayton Oliver's in that top 5 as well just because he gets so many clearances, but you're looking at Jack Steele, Darcy Parish, Zach Merritt. They're going backwards with the footy. We've been a good pressure team so far, especially in the last month. This might be the first time this year that the midfield worry isn't actually where my worries lie. Do you think that's real, or do you think they're still a force to be reckoned with?
No, I think that's makes sense what you've just said. So let's hope we do win that midfield battle for once. Because if we break even, we take it as a win. So if we can actually win it, we should really dominate. But,
well, the last game we won the clearances in, mate, was against St Kilda. So it might not have worked out that well about us. Kerry there, Chad's 200th. Hope he has a blinder, and I think he's due for a blinder. The Chad, he's had good moments, and he's had good stretches of perhaps quarters. I don't think we've seen that 4-quarter domination. And if there's a game where he's going to pull it out, I think it's this one. Do you think with the cold Saturday night, mate, he goes with the long sleeves?
I think he will, mate. If it's Chad, and he'll probably get the fresh tips done as well.
I hope not. I don't think it's a good look with their jumper.
We'll run with Kerry again. Yeah, Draper was a problem for us last time. He did absolutely smash us, and our ruck stocks aren't at their best at the moment. So, what do you think? Do you think
they're not? I think Draper's taken a step back this year, as evidenced by the fact they needed Andrew Phillips in the team as well. As far as I'm concerned, if Draper was going to be the number 1 ruck that we were, as footy fans, not necessarily Hawthorn fans, but as footy fans, were told by the people in charge, doesn't look like Draper will be playing, well, then he's just absolutely not a problem. But I don't think I'm as worried about him if he was in the side as perhaps I would have been if this was a round 1 game, because he's taken a step back, and he's got a good sidestep on him, the big fella, but he's got a turning circle like me, and that's not a compliment, let me tell you. Golly gosh. But Nick Hines, can Finn go to Parish? That is a very good question. He did tag Langdon, kept him out of the game. The body size is interesting. Do we trust Finn below his knees to be able to get low enough to continually put pressure on Parish?
Well, he just needs to be able to get some contact on him, really, doesn't he? Basically, if Parish is getting it below the knees before him, he just needs to make sure he's wrapping an arm around him and stopping him from making it a good possession.
I love the thought of Jai going to him. There's just something about that. I just said it then, that's making me smile. Just as a case of Darcy, he might even get double the touches that Jai does. Like, he could have 44 to Jai's 22. I know which one I'm taking. Jai's the number 1 hawk for meters gained per clearance, which was the stat that I was talking about before in the last month. Jai's leading that for us, and I think that's the metric that we need to look at, because you look at the teams that are dominating out of stoppages, the quicker they're moving it forward and the less disposal and time it's taking to enter the forward half, the better they're going. And I know I reeled off those names of players there. Christian Petrarca isn't in that top 5, and he's one of the best at it in the competition. That's how good that this stat is. So I love the idea of Jai going to Darcy and just going, mate, I'll hurt you. You can get the ball and take 4 steps backwards if you like. I'm going to take 4 forward, burst through a bloke, and go from there. Bombers are struggling with contested ball, apparently. Well, they definitely are, Cody, but the numbers that stand out to me is the Bombers are number 1 for disposal efficiency in the league. So they're not turning the ball over. The problem they've got is they're number 15 for meters gained. So it's all well and good if you can handball to the bloke standing next to you, and it looks great if you play like fantasy or Supercoach or anything like that. It's not doing anything for the team. And Marvel Stadium's like not the biggest ground lengthwise, so like they're handballing like backwards, sideways, and if we can just force them wide, I honestly reckon we can kill them on turnover even without CJ. Although he is a big loss, I think that's where Harry comes in structurally. So what are the worries for you, man, when it comes to the Bombers? If we came to the review, if we come forward, the Hawks have lost, how do you think the Dons do it?
I think, again, it would have to be probably they get to the ball first, move it quickly, and beat us at our own game, really. Scoreboard pressure, we've been off to flyers lately. So, if they get off to a flyer or win that first quarter, is that enough for them to stay in front and win the game?
Yeah, it's a good point. First quarters have been a strong start. Speaking of strong starters in first quarters, Dylan Moore, is currently the number 2 player in the competition for scores in first halves, and he hasn't scored in the second half. Didn't bother him last week with 25 disposals, which was all well and good and extraordinary, some of the efforts that he was putting in. But the Bombers as well are not defending well at all, embarrassingly bad. They've conceded over 90 points in every game bar one, I believe. So that's telling the Hawthorn forwards that there's going to be a smorgasbord to choose from. It's just who takes those opportunities. And for mine, I think I'm going to put Luke Bruce down as the man that kicks a bag. I said it in my tipping video on my channel, Daz Talks Footy. Go check it out. Shameless plug, but I'm doing it anyway. But the reason why I'm saying that is the consistent message. I honestly think Luke Bruce is going to look at is it a Jake Kelly, who he looks at and goes, yeah, you can beat me in the air, mate, but there's no way that you're going to touch me on the ground. And I think that's where Punky gets it done. I don't think he'll need to take set shots. I think he can just crumb everything and go from there. Who do you expect to hit the scoreboard in a big way, mate?
Scoreboard, well, I think because he's been in pretty good form. He's kicked 3 and 4, is it, after he's come in off. So I don't see any reason why he won't repeat that performance based on his recent form.
Yeah. Just looking at Mason Redmond, just going, I've got you covered, champ. That's all good.
Yeah.
Which would be beautiful. Hawks fans, who do you think is going to hit the scoreboard in a big way? And when we say big way, we're talking 3+. Yeah, it's fantastic. All the players that can contribute 1 and 2, but we want the big calls 3+. We think this is a statement game for us, aka percentage booster. Fabio, there you go. I like it. I like the profile picture too, by the way. But
It would be nice to rub it into the Essendon supporters. They've been, they're always a bit chatty within the friendship.
You are
group,
being extremely generous.
Just really rub it in, and to be honest, this would almost put them out of finals contention if we knock them off.
Yeah, it just would. You're not coming back. I think they were 2 and 5 last year at round 7 and made the finals. This would make them 1 and 7.
I think they were 1 and 6, maybe.
1 and 6, maybe. But you're not coming back from 1 and 7.
Made finals, but it's not saying it can't be done. But they're not looking likely, and it would be nice to just put the dagger in the coffin.
It would be nice. Well, there's been 22 head coaches this year. 21 of them have won a game, and the only one that hasn't is Ben Rutten. Yeah, so Essendon's only win was when Blake Caracella took over in the win against Adelaide. So we'd like to keep that little trend up. Yeah, absolutely. And Matty Knights will be coaching the Eagles, so there will be an assistant coach that doesn't get the job done because they're not beating Brisbane. But that would be nice if we could keep Rutten. Gunston is due and usually plays well against the Bombers. He definitely does play well against the Bombers. I think I can remember a game, I think 2015, where we just destroyed them and Gunners got involved. Well, that night, we've got some history with the Bombers at Marvel, mate. Round 1 last year, we came back from about 40-odd points down at halftime, absolutely kicked the bag in that third quarter. I think Dylan Moore actually kicked 3 in that third quarter. And do you remember who kicked the game winner that night for us? Off the top of your head?
Was it Bruce?
No? Tim O'Brien. Tom, T-O-B, it was.
Yes, I do remember now.
Didn't trust himself with the drop punt, the big fella, so he went around the corner. So there you go. TOB still providing us with quality content in 2022. Callow to dominate, Fred. I like it. He looked good, Buckets. Had some moments.
Yep. No, he probably exceeded what my expectations were from him. So, no, I'm very happy not happy that Mitch Lewis is missing again, but happy that Callow can put two together and against probably a weak opposition. And let's hope he does put some score on the board and kick a couple himself.
And especially, he's not coming up again. Yeah, like you said, a weaker opposition. There's no better defense at the moment than the Demons, and we put the highest score on them that they've conceded this year. So it looks really good for us forward of the footy, even if we couldn't get it done. Let's talk about Max Lynch just for a second, mate, because he had Max Gawn and Luke Jackson. He had Max Gawn. Sorry, Luke Jackson wasn't there. And again, this is a case of lesser opposition with Phillips and Nick Bryan, which we can go into this game saying that we do have the better ruckman, and I think he's due for a breakout. How did you see his game against Max, and how do you think he'll go on Saturday night?
Like you said, I thought he was competitive. He didn't exactly lower his colours, but yeah, obviously Max Gawn's probably best on ground. So it's a bit of a hard one to really judge. But yeah, he's been consistently good for us. So let's hope he can just improve on that. And yeah, well, he's got the spot for the next few rounds anyway. We're not hearing any news on anyone else coming in to help him out in the ruck. So yeah, we were pretty, I guess, desperate for him to improve, really.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we can be, as a collective Hawthorn group, we can be maybe a touch harsh in criticism, especially very recently when the siren goes. This is going to be the first time in Max Lynch's career he's played 3 consecutive games. So just maybe keep that in mind. But I do believe in the fact the expectation does need to be there. He's walking out on the ground, and he needs to believe, as I do, that he is the best ruckman on the park. And I'm pretty sure he can get it done. Another player that I want to talk to you about, mate, is Tom Mitchell. He's been a good source of conversation, and I think his role here is going to be somewhat critical. And the reason why I say that is he was the leading disposal getter on the ground, and he was second for Hawthorn in metres gained before he went off for the blood rule. And then I think we started to win a little bit of the midfield battle. We had some momentum. We took him out of the midfield essentially for the second half of the game. How do you think we should use Tom Mitchell to win the game? And then do you think Sam's going to keep him in the midfield for the majority of the game?
I think, Sam can think what he's thinking before the game, but when something happens in the game, he just has to adapt and change it as he goes. So you'd think he's going to play majority of his time in the midfield, but Ward's just had a week off. He could come in with fresh legs and play more minutes in the midfield. Chad's 200th. Maybe Chad gets a bit of a bonus in the midfield as well. So he's been pretty effective at hitting the scoreboard more recently than he was previously. So playing that forward flank, if he can hit the scoreboard for a goal while he's resting for 10, 15 minutes, that's a good win for us, really.
He's an underrated set shot goal kicker, Tommy. He's got a bit of an awkward kicking style, but yeah, he doesn't miss. What did you think of the half Matthew Lloyd grass drop that he was doing at the MCG? That was a bit weird because, at least with Lloydie, it was a bit, showmanship, if you like. But throwing it up, you could at least judge the wind. You can't judge a lot when you're dropping it from hip height. What was your reaction to when he did that?
I honestly didn't see it, but I think it's pretty funny just thinking about it.
He's just picked up a handful and he's done a mic drop with grass. It was very weird. I've never seen him do it before.
I'm gonna have to try and find that footage. I love it.
Yeah, please do, because it was extraordinary. The Hawks had to play Impey's role. Very good question. Honestly, I actually was going to bring this up a bit later, Con, but I'll do it for you right now. Speaking of blokes that torched us last time, Jarman Impey, here's Nick Hind. Stop him. Defensive forward. I would love that role for him because I think Nick Hind had what felt like a kilometre of metres gained in the Tassie game. It was a career best game for him. I know he's coming back. He had a half in the VFL last week and had 23 disposals, including 21 kicks. And although they don't have disposal efficiency, reports tell me that he didn't miss one of them. So he's back in reasonably good nick. Jarman's got the pace to go with him. He got a really good confidence boost last week. Took him less than 4 minutes to beat his disposal count from the week before, which was really encouraging. So I don't know how much defensive forward work he's done, but if we're talking what we can do to shut down a guy of Nick Hind's quality and the potential he's got to hurt us, especially at Marvel, I feel like he's got the chops to go with him. What do you think?
No, I like it. That's a good matchup for him. And like you said, it was a good response after having a quiet game to come out and have 20 plus, was it? So a run with roll, I think it's pretty beneficial for us to do that rather than, I don't know. We need to move the ball quickly too. So a bit of run and dash off the halfback would also be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it really would. And but Lockie Bramble has retained his spot, which is good. We got Scrimshaw, Harry Morrison's back, and I do trust Jarman with the ball in hand. I think he's if we take away that two disposal game that he had, or two disposal game that he had, I think he's kicking the ball this year at 84%, which is extraordinary. So I can understand the halfback role. Nash missing is a big loss. Tommy.
Yep.
Honestly, if someone had told me 12 months ago this is how I'd be feeling about Nashy, I wouldn't have believed it. But what a turnaround it's been, because I completely agree with you. But if there is a positive, there isn't really a run with matchup for him to go with. I know the contested ball is going to be a factor, and we'll talk about Jimmy Warple and the effect that he needs to have in order to balance that ledger. But there was something about him going to maybe a Nick Cox, or if Finn was going to go to Nick Cox, because he's a bit out of form at the moment, and to sort of keep him down. But Cox isn't playing. So I don't think this is a matchup that really hurts Conor being out of the side, but I don't think there's any argument that he's not best 23 now. I think that's just, he's a magnet that's on the whiteboard week in and week out, and he'll be back next week, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
There you go.
Alrighty, he's named emergency, isn't he? Late call up. That interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't pay that much attention to the emergency names, and I wonder if he doesn't get the call up, how much Box Hill time he'll play, because that game's on the Sunday out at Windy Hill. So if we can get out there, Hawks fans, that would be fantastic. Missing CJ Peter, it's a big loss. I'd argue Mitch Lewis, not the it's a debate, but Mitch Lewis is probably the bigger loss structurally. When CJ returns, I'd move Jars to a half-forward flank. That's all right, Richie. I've just gone a week too early. That's all right. No stress.
That's all right. Get him ready. Warm him up for the role.
That's it. But Harry's played forward, that defensive forward as well. He did it on Dane Rampy, I remember, up at the SCG a couple of years ago. And I think he kicked 2 goals in about 40 seconds and flipped the game on his head. So might be something we go down there as well. When CJ is back, Impy's out.
Interesting.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. He had a pretty good game last week.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that far out of our best 22.
I love the huge call, by the way. I don't knock big calls at all. That's really interesting. So if everyone's fully fit,
we just discuss things here, and everyone's got an opinion. So
that's it. We love it. Impy out. Oh boy. I wonder if our man thinks that he might have value, maybe going to another club, because I don't think we can ignore the elephant in the room, mate. And there's still a couple of players I want to talk about, and then we can head off. But the news about, let's start with the bomber. Kyle Langford is apparently on Hawthorn's radar as that half-forward flank type role. He's done a few different kind of roles at Essendon. They trialled him as an inside mid. That didn't work, which is fine. We've seen players go to different positions before. He's gone to a half-forward flank as sort of a hybrid, third tall, clean below his knees type. What were your reactions when you heard Hawthorn were interested, and what do you think we do with it?
I can't say I've paid a great deal of attention, but the stats were, what's he come in their top 6 in their best and first for the last 2 years, which is something pretty decent, I guess. So he must be doing something right. I wouldn't call him a marquee player, but if he's cheap enough and there's a hole to fill, I guess it sort of makes sense. I think the other top thing that we mentioned was his age demographic. While it doesn't suit our youth policy, but we do have a bit of a gap in that age bracket. And if he's got some leadership skills, it might be something worth looking at, but I'm not sort of jumping out of my skin to get him.
I think my 3-word reaction to seeing it was Gunston insurance policy. If the Herald Sun ran an article today, and you can take that with a grain of salt, is that Gunners will be someone that teams like Collingwood, Gold Coast, potentially even Essendon are looking at. And if Langford's the guy that we bring in Gunston out structurally, I mean, it makes sense. But the problem that I've got is I don't think he does anything at an A-grade level. And I think at 26 years of age with the side that we've got, I think we need guys that have got X factor and an ability to maybe rip a game by the throat and take it and win it for us in some capacity in the position that they play. That half-forward role, I feel like we've already got one of those in Dylan Moore, who's younger, who's doing his thing. No thanks for Langford, Tom. Completely understand. But the other guy who will be turning 27 by round 1 next year, Carl Amon, shout out to Smithy and Cody, who are both the I'm going to say co-CEOs of the Carl Amon fan club that I've got to be honest, Cody, and this is no offense to you, but I knew of Smithy's love for Carl Amon 4 years ago. I'm sure you've had love for that time as well, but I can only talk about my experience. I agree with you about the age demographic. There is a void there, but if it's up to the two of them, I think we take Amon. He's a beautiful kick. He's played centre bounces for Port in the last couple of years. I do worry about the fact they didn't trust him for CBA's late in finals last year. But everything about his game screams he's the kind of player that if Tom Mitchell's getting 25 handballs a game, that's the kind of guy we want him to be handballing to. What do you think about old Carl, which you don't see a lot of that name of anymore?
Yeah, he seems to be on the outer. He sort of got dropped the other week and then came back into the game late and had a pretty decent game.
25 and kicked a goal.
Yeah, I'd be pretty keen to get him in. Like, he's got the skill. That's what we're lacking, some really good, skillful kicking. So I'd be more than happy to have him in Hawks colours. Now,
I think the Chadwick would be in his ear, I reckon.
I've seen some comments about Flying Ryan earlier. I didn't post them, but is there any rumours around Flying Ryan?
Well, we know West Coast, not Flying Ryan specifically, but West Coast are going to drastically need draft picks. So I think there's a lot of players there that are there for the taking. I don't think anyone on West Coast's list, except for Jeremy McGovern and maybe Oscar Allen, that would be worth a first-round pick or a first and something else. Flying Ryan, he would fit beautifully into what the Hawks are doing. So I think he would be a really good fit. Whether he wants out or not, it's unknown. But I really don't hate the idea. And the other Eagle that's been talking about as well is Liam Duggan. But you've got to wonder if the Hawks aren't showing interest in these guys when Sam Mitchell was there. Are we dodging bullets? Who knows? But I like the idea of Flying Ryan. So that's kind of the off-season stuff. And the first draft content of the year, mate, has started because it's never too early to start. So on Wednesday night, or yesterday, if you're watching this live, I put out the first sort of draft scouting report. And I'm not saying the Hawks need to go out and these are the only guys to look at, but it's just giving fans an idea of maybe who to follow at lower leagues or who might be coming through that might be of interest. So if you go to talkinghawks.com, check that out. And while you're there at talkinghawks.com, you can help us help sponsor three amazing Hawthorn players. We've got DGB on board. Obviously, we've got Jai on board, and we've got CJ, the great man himself. He's out at the moment, but an up-and-coming star. We want to try to get to 4,000 by the bye. Unfortunately, the list of sponsors' names is actually frozen on my screen, so I promise that in the review, we'll get that full list up and give all of you amazing people that have given to the sponsorships your due credit, because it's an outstanding effort for anyone, no matter how little that you can spare or how much that you can spare. It's an amazing cause going to the footy club and helping these players and, of course, hopefully us as well, the recognition and the connection to the Hawthorn players, which is worth more than anything else. So go check that out. I've got a curly question for you, mate, that I wanted to go with before we head off and we do our tips, predictions, who we think is going to dominate. And it's a very simple one. Who, right now, leading into round 8, is winning our best and fairest so far? I feel like it's between two. Before you answer the question, I want the fans' input as well. So comment below, let us know. It's kind of a poll, but not a poll, but get all your answers in. Who right now are you giving the Peter Crimmins medal to? And once we've got a few comments in, mate, I'll get your answer as well. And I promise I'll do this more and more as the year goes on. It's not going to be a once a month thing. So I look forward to the fans finding that out. Before we get to all those comments, though, the VFL this week, we've got the Bombers again at Windy Hill Sunday, 2:05 p.m. And we're hoping to get another Box Hill representative in for the review. Clint Proctor was absolutely outstanding. Naps the week before, awesome. So we're hoping to keep that connection up and get out there, Hawks fans, whether you can get to the Bombers game on Saturday or not. An awesome way to support the next wave of Hawks. What have we got, mate? Have we got people chipping in?
The boys, the pick comments going off tap. We've got a few different names there, but
the Duke.
Yes, he's a popular one. Maury's in there
by a mile.
There you go. So I was a little surprised at that, because I thought you'd just given me a peach outside off, ready to cut over.
You reckon I gave you the half volley?
Yep, and that's the one, Sicily. I can't see how Sicily is not winning this at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. Number one player for marks in
But
the
there's
competition, but Moore or Jai Newcombe.
yeah,
I think that is the consensus top three. Whatever the order is, it's definitely Sicily, Moore, and Jai Newcombe. And I don't think it's close really. And then you look at who might be further there in that list. You might look at a Mitchell or a Lewis, especially, even though he's missed a couple. But I think they're the consensus. So I think that's 2 for 2. Curly questions, Daz. He's flying out, man. Love it.
well,
But
it
I
is
agree with
curly,
you.
like you said. I thought it was straightforward, but yeah, no, it's interesting reading the comments.
And if we've learned anything about half volleys outside off stump, they can get anyone out because Virat Kohli's in horrible form in the moment. So, hello.
And I don't mind it either. He's had a great season.
It reminds me a bit of the Blake Hardwick, who's finished runner-up in 2018, and we all kind of went, what? I think that scrim could be a bit like that, and that would be outstanding. All right. So
I do think internally he will be voted a lot higher than what he would be externally.
I think so. And fingers crossed we can do something for the Peter Crimmins medal, but that is not even in the planning stage. I've just thrown that out there. So sorry, Matty, who's out at the moment, and he'll be in for the review, probably listening to that going, Daz, really? But hey, look, we always try to do things and we let you guys know what's going on. So it's never too early to plan. So Hawks fans, we need your tips. We need a margin, and we need who is going to dominate. Scrim is our best player.
Yeah.
That's like the third bit. I love this. He's our best. Wow. Good call for Scrimshaw. Bang. Tommy's on board. We love that. So tips, margins, who you think is going to be best on ground. I remembered someone commented the other day, when we do the written previews and we say the Talking Hawks spotlight, that's not who we think is going to dominate. That is the player we are keeping an eye on a bit more than others. So I just wanted to clarify for a couple of people that did ask. All right, mate, give us your tip, give us your margin, and who is going to dominate, and then we'll get to the fans. I'll give my tip, and I reckon we're just about out of here.
All right, well, I can somewhat confidently say this week I think Hawthorn's going to win.
With the nervous laughter. That's a good sign.
Yeah, pretty much. It is, isn't it? I would like a big margin. Like we said last week, if we lost to Melbourne by less than 30, it was a win. I feel like if we don't win by more than 30, it's almost a loss. So,
that's a big call.
Maybe not 30, but I'm going to say Hawks by 35. I think, like you said, I think Cozzy's going to hit the scoreboard. But I'm going to go Callow for 2 goals. I'm going to go Ward for 20 plus. Ward's my man.
We're only one more leg away from building a Talking Hawks multi here. That's not what we're trying to do. But there you go. I like it. All right, Hawks fans, get your tips in. Who's going to dominate? Doesn't need to be who kicks the goals. Who do you think might get the 3 votes, or more importantly, the 5 stars in the review? I love when we go the full score. Geez, I'd love that margin. How good's that? Ward, man of the match. That'd be outstanding. Hawks by 5 goals. I do love the fact that the media are touting this as a bit of a danger game. I like the Cody there, outstanding, 7 points. I think the Bombers need to have a bounce back factor. And Fred, I think I'm kind of with you, just without those last few words there.
Yeah,
I don't know whether they're due. I think they're due for a full quarter performance. Now, whether that translates to a win or not, I mean, we're obviously going to find out. Holy moly, that would be outstanding. If we had a game like that, you just know Sam Mitchell wouldn't like the fact we gave up 20 scoring shots. That's kind of the coach that he is, which is an outstanding way of running things. But I am going to go the Hawks by 8 points. I reckon keep it close. And I think a best on a ground is going to be Jai. I'm backing him in to nullify Parrish, have 25 himself, and I reckon he hits the scoreboard. Benny, we agree. Yeah, great call, great minds. I think I like. All right, mate. Hawks 25. Max, I'd love to see Max Lynch get the 3 votes or the 5 stars. That would be outstanding. Hawks 40 plus, Moore 5, Gunston 3, Bruce 3, BOG more. That means we're predicting another 30 plus. More kicking 6. Yes, please. Can some of those be in the second half, please?
Even more. Callow for 5 as well.
Yep, I like it. I hope it's just
way too cocky, boys. Yeah, I think everyone's getting a bit excited, but we'll find out, won't we, next week?
That's it. It's a sense of optimism. It's not cockiness, it's confidence. We'd like to say Hawks 6 goals. I like it, but yeah, I've gone Hawks 8.
There's a little bit of consistency around that 30 to 40 mark, isn't there?
There really is. There's that. I think, and I say this with zero empathy, I like Day to play a blinder. That would be outstanding, Nick. I do subscribe to the theory that the Bombers surely can't be this bad 2 months in a row.
Yeah,
surely, like the footy fan in me,
yeah.
the Hawthorn fan in me says, no, get Nick Desson and we're going to smack you. And I hope we do. The footy fan in me, though, says they've effectively played, I would argue, a quarter against Brisbane, 2 against Adelaide, and maybe 1.5 against Collingwood. I can't remember them ever having really big momentum swings for the rest of the year. So they've played 7 games. That's 28 quarters, and I can only remember 4.5. That's a really big disparity there. Callow and DGB to both kick their first. There's a question for you as we lead away. What would Denver's celebration be? Because I feel like it would be something. It wouldn't just be the finger wave or the fist pump. I reckon he'd go big.
Do you reckon he's one of those wrestling guys? He's got one of those special moves, like one of the celebrations.
Potentially. If he kicks it on the fence, he high-fives the crowd. Absolutely. I think that's a certainty. Yeah. I reckon he'd do it even if there were Essendon fans sitting there. That'd be good.
I'd love to see him. I wish it was wet and he just goes for a big slide along the ground or something like that.
A little bit of European football style. All right, that just about finishes us up. 10 goals, Cozzy 5. Scotty, I like it. Fingers crossed, we are here for a review. Just get the win, go to 4-4. Chris, I agree. That would be a great result after 2 months of footy. Walpedo kicks 4 goals. I'll tell you what, the big fella needs to fire up. He was good last week. That'll be a really interesting midfield battle. Yeah, with Nash out, him and Jai will both get more midfield time. All right, mate, it's been a pleasure. Fingers crossed the Hawks get over the line. 7:25, that's Victorian time, Eastern time. Marvel Stadium, and then, of course, Box Hill, 2:05 p.m. out at Windy Hill. Fingers crossed we go 2-0 against the old enemy. And speaking of old enemy, the VFLW girls as well are second on the ladder, and the Bombers are first. So fingers crossed they get over the line, because it's not good having Essendon above us in any circumstance. Mate, I hope you enjoy your weekend. I hope the Hawks get a win. And to all the Hawks fans out there, thank you very much for joining us. Get on to talkinghawks.com to help us sponsor Jai, Denver, and CJ. Jump on there for the written preview that is going to come out. We hope tomorrow night or Saturday morning. Big Daz has been pretty busy, so fingers crossed that's coming as soon as we can. I think that's all the shameless plugs for the night, mate, and we should get out of here. And last but not least, go the Hawks.
Go the Hawks. Catch you guys.
See ya.